back to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. You are in for a treat today. We've got one of my buddies, really good friend that I've come to know this last year in 2021. I got to know a lot of really cool people in 2021. And this guy's name is Sid. You might know him as Try No Feet on Instagram, and I'll go into that a little bit more. But he's an awesome guy. You're going to love this podcast. And so, anyway, hi, I'm Jonathan, RedBeard. And here at RedBeard Outdoors, we focus on three main things, three pillars. Family and faith, wrapped up into one. Fitness and the outdoors. Combine all three of those things, and that's my life. And so I just want to share that with you guys. I want you guys to get as much enjoyment out of it as I do, and to learn and grow with me on my journey here through life in this amazing world. And I want you to also enjoy the same things that I do, the happiness that comes from getting outdoors, being healthy, spending time with your family, and having some sort of structured belief system, faith that you have that implements into your life. All of those things are what I talk about here at RedBeard Outdoors. So thanks for tuning in. And you can always find me over on Instagram is where I'm most active, red.beard.outdoors. You'll see my posts there. I post there daily. And also on Facebook, same thing, red.beard.outdoors. And any companies that I work with, you can find the links below. I'll talk more about them a little bit later at the end of the podcast. But I want you to, without any further ado, get to listen to this awesome conversation that I had with Sid, or Try No Feet. He has an amazing story where he's overcome so many things to be able to incorporate all these three pillars of family, fitness, and the outdoors into his life when he's been dealt so many things that would cause him to not want to do any of those three pillars. But he's crushed it. And he's not only crushed it in his own life, but he's helping others through Disabled Outdoorsmen and a chapter here in Utah specifically, but working with them to get people out ice fishing and to hunt and to do all these amazing adventures outdoors for people that otherwise would not be able to experience the things that he is providing for them through this chapter and all the other amazing volunteers that he works with. So again, without further ado, here's my conversation with Sid. Awesome. So I've got Sid here, or also on Instagram known as Try No Feet, and we'll talk about that story of how I ran into Sid up on the mountain a little bit and how I screwed up that name. But yeah, so we've got Sid here, and he does a lot of awesome stuff. I kind of want to just for the audience, who are you? Like, what do you like to do? What do you do for fun?
I like to party hardcore every night, pass out every night. No. Yeah, my name's Sydney. I'm from Utah. I live in Vernal. It's on the northeast side of the state. I guess I'm an old G. I'm creeping up on 40. I got 4 kids. I lived all over the state, Idaho. I lived in Montana for a little bit. I grew up in the outdoors. This is kind of a big thing in our family, hunting, fishing, and then I pass it on to my kids as well. I like, hanging out with the kids. I do love triathlons. That's been kind of my new passion I've gained in the last 6 years since I've lost my legs. And it's just been one of the things that drives me. And I think that's it in a nutshell. Love talking to new people. I'm kind of I kind of gab a lot. I do like to make new friends and share stories, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. So you got a family. How many kids do you have?
I have 4. I have 3 girls and a boy.
That's awesome. Cool. And you involve them in the outdoors. That's so that's one big thing that I like to stress to people. Some people feel like just because they have kids, they can't get out and do things. That kids are kind of almost a hindrance to being able to get out and hike, go hunting, backpacking, camping, things like that. And that's something that I like to stress is getting the kids involved from a super young age and letting them choose, obviously, as they get older and they do have more choices what they want to get involved
Mhm.
in, but at least you provided that opportunity
Oh
to
yeah.
kids. And
Well,
so,
the reward is a huge payoff. Like I don't care who you are, but like to me, to when you get your child to catch their first fish, that's insane. It's just it is such a huge accomplishment, and they're just so excited. This year, my son turned 12, and he got his hunter safety, and he put in specifically he wanted to hunt mule deer with a muzzleloader, and he we did a lot of scouting prior. I mean, he wanted to do the whole works on how he, assumed just watching YouTube videos and talking to me and stuff like that. He wanted to do the whole thing, and he harvested his first mule deer. He shot one all by himself too. He the very last day, last hour, he decided that he wanted to go check an area, and I told him I was just going to keep the watch on another area, and thinking that this hunt was fun. We learned a lot of experiences. We busted deer, but I don't think he's going to get a buck on his first year. And I was just sitting in the blind, and all of a sudden I heard a boom, and I come running up the hill. He comes running down the hill, and he's stuttering, and he's like, "Dad, I got one." And I had my muzzle loader with me, and so I gave it to him so that way he could, in case it didn't expire, that he could do so. And luckily, the deer had already expired by the time it got to him. So it was a pretty cool experience. Definitely, the reward of it was so intense. I haven't been that excited about a deer being killed in years. Don't get me wrong, I love to kill deer, but not at that level. So
yeah, it's a
kids
whole
are important.
nother, I would say it's a whole nother level with your kids. It's fun to do it. It's fun to go out and have time with your buddies, but especially if you've been doing it for years and then to pass that on. Like I haven't had that experience as far as with hunting is concerned, but with fishing, that is a lot of fun to get my kids out there
Oh yeah.
and go fishing. And they just we use cane poles off a pier just out in our lake house in North Carolina. And so they're pulling up what we call brim, but bluegills and shell crackers and things along those lines. And they're just so excited every time, even though it could be a 2-inch fish or one as big as your hand, like that. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. They're excited.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So cool. Well, I just kind of wanted to get a little bit of background on you because I found you first on Instagram, and I like the fact that you didn't allow certain things that you basically the cards that you were dealt in
Mhm.
life to get you down. A lot of people do, and they'll take certain things that are out of their control and they'll hyper focus on those things rather than like what you've done, where there was things out of your control physically that you have to deal with on a daily basis, but you don't let it get you down to the point where you're doing triathlons, you're out hunting. Uh, Fill us in a little bit about that, about your backstory a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure, sure. Yeah, in 2015, I lost my legs to a disease that I was born with. It's a disease that it's called Charcot-Marie tooth. It's a progressive disease that affects the muscles and the nerves and creates deformities, and then pretty much withers away, and they start gaining problems like broken bones and arthritis. And I lost the function to do certain things, such as walking was a very hard task. And being in the outdoors, that's kind of a blow because it's something that's needed. And when the doctor said, okay, in order for you to continue a lifestyle, or be in a wheelchair, you could choose prosthetics or a chair, and I chose the prosthetics option. So when they amputated it, it was it was a hard decision overall, just mentally to fathom that you can't come back on this decision. And I didn't know anybody. I'm in a small town. I didn't know any amputees, other than just social media, on what I was going to go through, and the phantom pain and the struggles of dealing with wearing a prosthetics, and then of course, the financial obligation to dealing with insurances my entire life at a high level, and things breaking, and all those things it takes of being an amputee. And then there's the mental side of things. I don't have limbs. People are always staring. I get, you know, a lot of odd questions and comments and stuff like that. So there's those things that I wasn't really prepared for. But um, as far as my attitude towards it, I generally was raised uh, by my good parents that you know taught me a lot about the basics of when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. And I've learned through the disability building up to the amputation that I can choose between being upset and angry, or I can choose to be happy and learn how to overcome challenges and make it a um, a tool that's going to make me more positive and stronger. And then the plus side of things that most people don't talk about is that tool can be used to help others. People that constantly are looking for inspiration, or they're dealing with something that they thought was huge, and then when they find out, maybe this isn't as a big deal because Sid doesn't have his legs, or so and so, has cancer. Those kind of things benefit others just by being able to share the story. So I was in the hospital for a long time trying to learn how to recover from all this, and had some infections and had to redo some surgeries and had to actually re-amputate at one point, just till I finally got the hang of it. And on TV was the Ironman. And when I was in the hospital, and I was so impressed with the race itself, because it's 140.6 miles. And I thought, how awesome would that be to do that race? And I just felt compelled. I don't know if it was the pain pills that I was on or what, but I just felt like this is something that I want to obtain. I know it's not going to be happening overnight, but I feel like if I can have this huge goal and work towards it, that's what I want to do. And it did a couple things. It taught me a little bit about patience, because, I had to learn how to swim again. I had to learn how to ride a bike, how to adjust how to pedal without feeling the pedals, how to run, all those things taken a long time to get there. And then once I finally got to competitions, I started off small, like a 5K. I did my first 5K ever. And then worked up to a 10K, and then to a sprint triathlon, and then a half marathon, and then Olympic triathlon, and then a half Ironman. And then 5 years later, or excuse me, 4 years later from amputation is when I finally completed a full Ironman. And so, all those things, they taught me patience, but more importantly, it got my having this goal, and some of the things that I'm doing now with an organization called Disabled Outdoorsmen. These kind of activities that I'm doing and did with the triathlons, it takes my mind off of the struggles of being a double amputee, and I'm not thinking about what was me, and I'm focusing on my goals and helping other people, and as a return, it's brought joy into my life. And I feel like that's kind of been the secret to overcoming those cards that you talk about that you've been dealt, is by overwhelming your mind and body by doing things positive. So you don't have the time really to sit back and realize, oh, life sucks. It doesn't if you really think about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's something that really inspired me, that I found you on an Instagram. It was probably through hunting. But the fact that, I saw it was try no feed, and I'm like, what does that even mean? And then I started looking at your stuff, and I'm like, wow, he's probably, well, I know for a fact you've run and swim and biked more than I have, and you have less appendages than I do. So it's that was super impressive to me for you to, and I didn't know your whole backstory. I didn't know whether it was something that happened in the military, or you had something that was obviously you could not control with this disease. And so I think that's awesome. So you're saying that you weren't a triathlete before?
Yeah, nope, never ran a race in my life until I
Wow.
was 34 years old.
That's crazy, man. That is
Uh,
awesome. That's really cool to hear. I honestly, I don't like running, period. So that's super impressive in and of itself. But the fact that while you're laying there in the hospital recovering, you're watching the Iron Man and you were just thinking, whether it was the pain pills or not, but that this was a good idea to set that
yeah.
goal. That is awesome. That is so
Yeah,
cool.
it was a hard sell to, my wife and my friends and loved ones. Are like, well, why don't we focus on, how to run around the block first, or let's try to get you to learn how to walk. Let's not think about that kind of stuff. So it was, and even for years, and actually the year of the race, I had a lot of people that were close to me that were kind of trying to talk me off the from doing the race. And so it's one of those things that in my life I'll always remember and be grateful for. And it's a, I'd love to do another one. And there's other huge aspirations I have that I know that are going to test my patience. One of which was the 75 hard. I don't know if you've heard of that. I'm sure you have, being a first Phorm guy, but I that was a program I recently did, and I love that. Same thing. It taught a lot of things about myself and patience and mental toughness, and helped me realize a little bit about where areas in my mind that I try to compromise. How easily I can catch myself up in a compromise if I'm not careful. So I love stuff like that.
Yeah, actually, you've hit on quite a few topics that I actually wanted to talk to you about. So 75 hard was definitely one of them. I'm currently
Nice.
in phase 3 of the Live Hard program. I've got
Oh,
like seven
cool.
days left. So I love that program. It's not for everyone, obviously. And if you go into it with the idea, and I love that you said about how you hit on the mindset aspect of it. Anyone that goes into it, I've had a lot of people that have said, well, isn't that too much? You're overworking yourself, too much working out, blah, blah, blah. And I say, it's not about the weight loss. It's not
No.
that's a side effect of the program itself.
Yep.
Something for me that has hit home for me is the idea that, I have a power list. Like my wife always laughs at me because I have these checklists and I've always run off of checklists and I make sure things get done. But having a power list and going through that power, oh, there you go. You got the book. See, I'm not that cool. I just have a little book right here. But like, starting my day off with that. And then in phase 3, you have 8 critical tasks that you put on your power
Yep.
list, and making them those actionable items rather than just goals that you have for the day, but something that you have to do that day on top of everything else that you're doing in the program. It
Hmm.
makes you focus a lot harder on what's really important. And I love that you hit on, you compromise with yourself so much. There's so many things that you can compromise, whether it be with your nutrition, whether it be with your family, with your work, with whatever it is, with school. I'm currently in school, so that hits home for me. It's a great program. It really is. And so what else did you enjoy about, because you just finished 75 hard. Was it a month ago, 2 months ago?
Yeah, it was a little over a month ago. Yeah, what I love about it or hate about it, or overall.
What was let's say top 3 things that you learned from it?
Um, the top three things is that okay. So the number one, I'll stop. Well, let's see. I don't know how to start this. Um, I, I would say that from okay, let's talk about the bottom. Number three is that I've learned about, if I am consistent with something, no matter what the positive and negatives I experienced in that day. For example, let's say weight loss. During the weight loss, if I'm like, crap, I'm not losing weight, I have found that just ultimately forcing yourself to say, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to, or telling yourself, I'm going to try it, is not going to work. Or saying, oh, I'll give it another week and see how I feel. Just say to yourself, I'm going to freaking do this no matter what. And I'm going to stay consistent to it to the end, no matter what. It's amazing what you can accomplish, even when you hit this plateau. Because so many times I've tried different, exercise programs or any kind of, mental tough things that I want to get over myself with. and I'll hit a plateau, and that's where the real test comes. So in 75 hard, my biggest struggle was towards the end. So like 55, 60, 65, because I feel like I hit the plateau. I'm like, man, I'm already there. And that's when I was like, catch myself like, holy crap, Sid, you almost gave up a workout because you thought it was, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes here, good enough. And so I've learned the dangers of that. Another thing too is just overall, I felt better about myself going through 75 hard. I felt like the fact that I can control so many different things by being more organized. I would set alarms on my phone, when to drink water. I had more of a routine where I'd wake up, take a selfie, get the drink of water in, get a book read, and then work onto my workout, etc. Once I started organizing my brain to where things become more of a habit, it's amazing, even with this intense program, how much extra stuff I find myself being able to do. I love that. It's taught me that I definitely I don't know if I spend too much time on Instagram, but I find myself wasting a lot of time when really I had more time than I thought. And then the number one thing is I could start recognizing where my weaknesses would creep in, where I find myself, or I guess Andy calls it the inner bitch voice comes in and tells you these things, and you actually believe them, or I believed them at one point. And so now I can recognize that those are lies, and that I can do things that I can keep myself up to. And ultimately, I feel a lot stronger from it, and I can recognize it. That's the big thing, is now I feel like I can recognize if I am being tempted, or if I try to mentally think of alternatives or compromises in this program. And I did when I completed this program, I had failed 2 other times prior. This last one was definitely like a slap in the face, because I knew it's either a make or break moment for me. So,
Yep. And when you fail, you start at day one, right?
you do. It
Yep.
sucks. It sucks. I think the first time I did, I failed like it just was time management. I just didn't realize that, oh crap, I forgot to do this, or something came up, and I didn't get around to a second workout of some sort. And then the next one was somebody brought over a pizza, and I just was like, oh, I love pizza. I could justify a couple pieces, and then it turned into the whole pizza, and then I'm like, shoot.
No, I know that feeling. It's and I love the 3 points that you hit on, because, and this is coming again, let me put this into perspective, because I haven't accomplished half the things that you have as far as physical feats and going on triathlons and all that. But the fact that you're saying that 75 hard was one of the hardest mental toughness programs, yet you've run multiple triathlons with, half your legs. Like that's great. That just blows my mind. I think that's awesome.
A lot of it has to do too, like with the triathlons. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they were hard, but a lot of those things was, I had a coach that gave me a program. He knew the things that I could get through. I had a schedule. This is what I have to do in order to get to this next level. And I could see those results daily. 75 hard, there's no coach telling you what you have to do. There's no one holding you accountable except for yourself. And that's what makes this program way more valuable to yourself, because you are on your own. And that's where the benefit of it is. There's no one there to hold your hand and checking up to say, hey man, did you do this? I mean, I guess the only source of accountability that I was doing, as I occasionally post the picture of where you are on the calendar on the wall. I mean, that's something, but overall, I mean, no one was going out there checking to see, has he been out for 45 minutes? Has there been someone measuring his water? Should we quiz him on his books, what he's reading? Those kind of things is what makes that program special. You really get the benefit of what you put into it is where it comes from. It does crack me up when I run into people that are like, oh yeah, I did 75 hard, but I did kind of my own version of it, where it's like I decided that I wouldn't work outside and I would just do like a mental focus for 45 minutes. And I thought that was good enough. Well, it's good that you're doing that, but you cannot call it 75 hard. That's
Right.
not
It's
what it
like
is.
it's not like it's scalable, right? It's scalable based on your physical fitness level, your ability to do certain things. That is scalable. But as
Yeah.
far as the tasks are concerned, there's nothing that you can compromise there.
Yeah.
And I do love that too, that it's holding yourself accountable. It's training yourself to be your own coach, to be your own hype man, to be your own grind it out, like whatever the situation is. And I find it really interesting because anyone that I talk to that's gone through it, and you can tell the people that have done it right. You can just
Mhm.
there's just something about them when you talk to them and they talk about the program. They don't ever talk about necessarily the weight loss side of things. They talk about the mental acuity that's gained, and the fact that you brought up right around day 50, and
Yeah.
everyone that I talked to, and I talked to Mike about this, Mike Merrill. I'm sure you've seen him
Oh,
on Instagram.
oh
So
yeah. He
yeah.
he used to be my old Boy Scout leader.
Oh,
True
no
story.
way.
True
That's
story.
awesome. That is awesome. So I talked to him about it and I was like, talk to me again when you're at about day 50, 55-ish. Let's see where you're at there. Cause he's crushing it right now, but I think he's in the 30s. And I was just
Oh
like,
yeah.
you're gonna hit a spot. I think everyone does right around 50 to 55. And then you hit around day like 65, 70, and you're like, all right, final stretch. It's
Yeah.
kind of what I imagine. What Again, I hate running.
Yeah.
Disclosure to everyone, but what I imagine running a marathon is like, and you can see the finish line,
You could
Mhm.
see the finish line. There's usually, I mean, you still got to be careful, but you could, yeah, the last few days, I mean, I was like, I got this. It's
Yeah.
fun.
And it's
But
even funnier is I don't know if you've read the book, the 75 hard book, but he literally maps it out. And I didn't buy the book until after I'd done the program. And I went back and read it and I was like, holy crap. He's not lying. Like these days
yeah,
almost line up exactly with
yeah.
what I dealt with. But that's awesome, dude. That's so cool that you were able to go through that, and you're still aiming for more, like you're wanting to do, more triathlons and other things in the future. But
Mhm.
you hit on something that I did want to bring up as well. So what's your involvement with Disabled Outdoorsmen, or DO Utah is the one that I
Mhm.
follow on Instagram. Tell me a little bit more about that organization and what role you play in that.
Yeah, we've been around now for this is our third year. I'm one of the founders for the Disabled Outdoorsman chapter. Initially started with just Disabled Outdoorsman USA is what we ended up breaking up to. Me and my buddy Weston Jenkins down there in Bernie, Texas. He has a cousin that had a disease that was a muscular dystrophy disease, not as intense as mine. Mine more affects my legs and my hands, where his affects his whole body. So he was literally withering away. This disease is so rare and severe that most people don't live past 16, 17 years old. But his cousin was so involved in the outdoors, particularly whitetail. When I went down to go visit his cousin, he had deer named. He knew every specifics about their behavior, which doe in an area was in heat. Uh, he had numerous amount of trophies on his wall, countless stories, and he was so obsessed with it that it gave him a purpose, to focus on. And something happened with his body that he's now 30 years old and the longest person to have lived with this disease. And the doctors contributed it to his passion for the outdoors and how it gave him a purpose. And that's kind of where the idea came from. And so when we decided to bring that idea to Utah, we branched off. We're still involved with them in their chapter, and we still work with the same nonprofit 501c3, but we focused a lot on the efforts here in Utah and individuals here, and we do programs such as ice fishing events and shooting events, and we've done pheasant hunts. We've done last year we did over 20 big game hunts where we are mentoring and guiding people, not just teaching them how to pull the trigger. We want them to see the whole process so that way they can feel that they can do it on their own. What's amazing with disabilities is not amazing, but what's sad about disabilities, particularly with people with paralysis, is that the suicide rate, especially among men, is so high, and it's because when you have a disability, and if you're a provider like a father, and all of a sudden you have this accident of some sort, and that comes to a halt, you really do feel. I felt this myself, so I'm speaking from experience. You don't feel like a contributor, and as a man, that's a hard thing to swallow. Is knowing that you're just you can't contribute, or even you feel like you're a burden to others, and so the depression and suicide is pretty high. But we've had so many awesome experiences with different people that we've found them in this state of depression. Some even have attempted suicide and have introduced the outdoors or reintroduced the outdoors and hunting and activities. And this light switch just clicks on in their brain. And we've given them the confidence and show them the tools and basically allow them to hunt in a way that an able body can hunt. We just do things a little bit different, or it takes a little bit longer to get to this point of the mountain, or so to speak. But just those kind of things does magic, and just seeing the light turn on to the point where their lives are saved, and they're out there trying to share the same goodness to others and being a mentor to other disabled individuals, to show them the same thing. And it's just been an awesome organization. We've had a lot of cool people help us out on it, seen a lot of cool stories and people's lives change. And it's just been a drive of mine. I have some great people on my board that have donated countless hours, and this is all volunteer stuff. No one's getting paid, and it's just been a blessing, huge blessing.
Yeah, that sounds like it. And I love, you post a lot about, like, recently you've been ice fishing. I've been once ice fishing, and it was a failure to the nth degree. Like, it was just terrible.
Why would you fall in?
No, not that. I guess not that bad, but we just didn't catch anything. And and the kids constantly wanted to move holes, so me and my buddy were just constantly drilling new holes, and it was like
it's a good workout,
right? Turning the lake into Swiss cheese. But no, it was. I've seen you obviously know some good spots, and then I see that you take people out, and I think it's cool that you're you said like a founder of the chapter here in Utah. So
sure.
That's awesome. I love that. And again, yeah, just, and where can people, if they're looking to get either family members, friends, or themselves into this group, where can they find you at?
You know what? Really, there's online is some of the best things. It can message me individually, but online, doutah.org. So DOUTAH.org is our website. Our social media is DO_Utah on Facebook and Instagram. Message us there. We'll have follow our socials, and we'll have events posted. I don't know when this episode will air, but come the 15th of January, so here in about 10 days, we will have our third annual ice fishing event. Anybody's welcome. Volunteers, awesome. We got some cool sponsors: Shields, Garmin, lots of cool companies in the Uinta Basin out here have donated to make this happen. We're just going out there. We're gonna have a little bit of a competition, a little bit of fun, just overall trying to get people introduced to the sport of ice fishing, and help them out get from their cars down to the ice, show them how to do it. The DAWR has teamed up with us where we're going to do some seminars and some cool prizes and raffles. But yeah, that's coming up here at Steinecker Reservoir on the 15th, which is just a few minutes north of Vernal. So
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, this will be coming out this Sunday. So
cool.
yeah, if you guys want to get involved in that, go check them out at doutah.org or do_Utah on Instagram. They put out some great stuff. So and that honestly, like again, the fact that and I hate to well, I don't hate to because you seem to be of the same mindset where you were dealt these cards, whereas someone else would not have handled this situation as well as you have, and you've turned that the disease, something that you can't control, into a blessing for so many people. Just on Instagram alone, thousands of people, but more than that, people that you take out, you involve in the outdoors outside of just your family. You've created an even bigger family to
Mm-hmm.
help other people, like what you're saying. There's something about getting outside, and that's why it's one of my three basically pillars of RedBeard Outdoors: family, fitness, and health, and the outdoors. Because I know that for me, I'm a better person if, one, I get my workout in, two, I have my family time, but also if I get my time outdoors, and hopefully combining all three of those is even better,
Yeah,
right?
that's the
um,
win-win there.
exactly. And being able to share all these things with my loved ones outdoors.
Yeah.
But I know for me personally, just getting outside and being able to unplug, even if I don't see an animal,
Mm-hmm.
going out and hiking or biking or whatever it is, just getting out there, or even just going to the park with my kids. Like there's just
Mm-hmm.
something about, I can't say always fresh air here in Utah, but there's something about getting outside and breathing mostly fresh air, that is, it's just, there's something about it. It taps into people. It makes you happier. It brings people out of depression, and all of those things. So that's why that I think that's awesome. I think you're doing an awesome job with that, and I appreciate the work you do there. Um,
Thanks,
so
man.
I want to talk kind of transition a little bit into hunting a little bit, and how, so I'd seen you on Instagram. I hadn't really messaged with you on Instagram, but then we had a chance encounter out in the woods, and I kind of want to hear your side of the story before I tell my side of the story, because I think mine's pretty funny, but I haven't heard your side of the story yet. So do you remember that evening?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It was a good day. It's funny. Yeah, I don't know where to start. I guess I'll kind of start in the beginning. I've been hunting in that area. It's not far from where I live here in Vernal, and it's just a little area that I could, it's behind a road where I could take my e-bike and then hike up into a few spots. And I've been hunting that area. There's been some elk, seen some elk sign, had a few close encounters with the bow. Just couldn't seal the deal. But one evening, I don't remember if it was a weekend or whatnot, I went up there and which I thought was, there was nobody up there, but sure enough, I heard some cow calls coming around. So I thought, okay, I'll work myself over into this direction and started cow calling and, try to sound something different than an elk hunter's. That way I, could maybe determine if it was somewhere that was going to respond. So started picking up tree trunks and slamming on the ground just to make some kind of rustle and calf calls and trying to intimidate something, instead of your standard hoochie mama. And it was too dark, and come around, there was a fella there. I think two guys, you and your buddy, and that's where we noticed that we were calling each other for a little bit. But yeah, I started talking to you guys for a second, just shooting the breeze, and you're like, hey, do you know this guy? Try no legs, and I was just kind of giggling a little bit, and I was trying to play it off. It's like, yeah, you mean try no feet? And he goes, oh yeah, that's his name. It's like, yeah, he's such a dick. And you're pretty awesome. You weren't like, oh yeah, I've heard the same thing, or you're just like, oh well, yeah, I don't know him that well, so dang it, that's too bad. And then that's when I revealed that yeah, I am trying no feet. I'm just messing with this.
Yeah, it
But
was funny because so there was a previous before you, because you had come around one side, and we were messing with, because we had thought it was an elk at first, and then we realized he was like on the road, and so we were messing with this hunter and almost
mhm,
brought him up the mountain. We were just calling back and forth and messing with him, and we were a little frustrated because we had seen a lot of sign in the same area,
mhm,
and we knew they were there, we
Yep.
just couldn't get a hold of them. And
Yep.
so we had been climbing. It was almost like bouldering and deadfall combined. Like it was just
Yep.
the worst
That
area.
well, that's where they go. That's where those
Exactly.
freaking creatures go. And
Exactly.
where we were at, there's just up and over on that hillside is no man's land for real. There's no roads, and then you get private forever. So elk get no pressure.
Yep.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah, it was bad. And it was funny because like we'd sit there and we're like huffing and puffing, trying to climb over this stuff. And then we see a pile of elk crap and we're like, are you serious? Like, like you guys are up here. Anyway, so after we messed with that guy for a little bit, we were, hanging out and just kind of side hilling a little bit. And then it got dark. So we, put our arrows back in the quiver and started hiking down. And then we heard some rustling. We're like, well, at least we could see an elk, right? Like we can't shoot it. It's a little dark. At least we could see something. And so we were, calf calling, cow calling back and forth. And then you come out with the headlamp and we're like, oh, okay, cool. So we were chatting and it was one of those scenarios where like, I wasn't really looking at your face. And again, I hadn't really followed you well enough to look at you, like to memorize your face. And so, I just looking around and I looked down, I was like, oh, he's got a Go Hunt sticker on one of his legs. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And I kind of pride myself in being able to have a conversation with most people and not make it awkward. So I hope I didn't make you feel awkward, but I was like, hey, so, I noticed that you were an amputee. So I was like, hey, there's a guy on Instagram that I follow who does the same thing. Like he's out in the outdoors and he's an amputee. Just try no legs. And you were like, oh yeah, that guy's an idiot. And like, just being so, and I was just kind of thinking, I'm like, dang, oh, that's bad. Like, and I was just like, I don't know, I'm good enough to say anything. I like the stuff he puts out there though. And then that's when you stuck your hand out, shake my head, you're like, hey, I'm trying no feet. And I realized I'd put my foot in my mouth because I, obviously didn't follow you enough to know the name, but
Oh no, it's
let
fine.
alone your face. But it was so funny. And my buddy, and they still talk about it. They're like, wait, you're gonna be talking with Sid today? I was like, yeah. He's like, you're not gonna bring up that story, are you? I'm like, of course I'm gonna bring up the
Oh
story.
yeah. I love it. I told on the way home, I told my wife the exact same story. I was like, yeah, it's like I got a kick out of this guy. It was a good conversation.
Yeah.
You know what was funny? When I was calling her and telling her this story, there was an elk on the road. I had to slam on my brakes.
No way. Oh
No,
gosh.
a bull elk of all
Of course.
of all
Of course.
creatures.
Oh man, that's the worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst. So, but yeah, so that's our little transition into the hunting. So you grew up hunting, you've been out did you grow up in Vernal in Utah or?
No, I actually grew up in the bubble, so Provo, Orem area. I went to school at Tinview High School, and then went on a mission to Montana. Went to school in Idaho. Lived in Lake Powell for a while down there in the marine. I was in the hotel industry. That was my degree, and then I moved up here almost 10 years now. 11 years.
Why Vernal? Because it doesn't seem like much, to be honest with you. So maybe
It,
enlighten me a little bit.
it's well, when you live in Bullfrog, Utah, this is metropolis town. I mean, we had one gas station that was open seasonally and 300 people at the most that lived there. And then it was an amazing place to live because you had the Henry Mountains and then you had all that lake to go fishing, and I love to fish. But my oldest, which at the time he's now 12, we were thinking school. What were we going to do for school? And when the uranium mine closed, the school down there was very, very small. And he would be in a classroom as a K-12, but he'd be in a classroom where he was the only kindergartner with another fifth grader, and that was it. And I love sports. I was, competitive in the swim team in high school, and my wife did a lot with, she's from California, so obviously she, was wanting something bigger. And so that's when we decided that we loved our Lake Powell life. That's what that picture is up there. But now it's time, to mature and grow up and live into a town. At the time, oil field was booming out here in Vernal, and hotels were at high demand, and the pay was really good at the time for hotels, and that's why we moved out here. Now I have made a career choice about 5 years ago, and I'm not in hotels anymore. I'm still in sales and customer service, but I love it out here. The Uinta Basin is a dream. There's no elk, there's no deer out here, unfortunately. The fishing's horrible. You can't even kill a squirrel. So I will say that on the podcast. You don't need
Don't
to
go
come
to
out here.
Vernal.
But no, in all honesty, it is a sportsman's paradise. Like I can get to my deer stand or a blind here in about 15, 20 minutes. I used to now, can check cameras and do it before I get home from work. Now I can't check cameras anymore. So
You can until July, was it July
that's
31st
true.
or something?
That's true.
So if you're looking for late season elk, you can go out and put cameras, right?
You can,
But
you can.
yeah, that's something that oh man, I saw that decision and I haven't quite gotten into the trail cameras. I'm pretty new to Western hunting. I didn't like the style of hunting in North Carolina where I sat in a stand and it was like shooting lanes with a rifle. And I
Mhm,
like now that I'm into bow hunting, I'm like, okay, I could do that. Now I don't know if I could sit in a stand for 24 hours. I don't
mhm.
know how people do that. I might have to have a good book or something, um, but yeah, I'm actually kind of interested in going back out east and trying it with a bow, but with a rifle, that was not for me. So coming out here, my buddy got me into it. I went with him for a couple of years, which anyone that's looking at getting into hunting, I recommend that you get a good mentor, someone that you can hang out
Mhm.
with for hours, be miserable and sweaty and, hike up steep mountains and never see
Mhm.
an animal for the day and still have a good time.
Yep.
That's key. That was key for me. And so then I got into the hunting aspect, and then you fill a couple tags, and then you just kind of get addicted to it. So, um, but I haven't done the trail cameras much. I've done some with my buddy, but I was kind of bummed because I was actually looking at doing that this year, and yeah, they just decided that that's not a good option. So hopefully next year they can revote that back in or however that works. But we need to get that back.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about it. There's years that I've not used it and done just fine, and there's years I've used it, and it's just to me, it's just another. It's like shed hunting. What is really the purpose of shed? Are we getting freaking rich off these sheds? Nah, I'm not. Maybe you are, but I like it because it's something to do. You get to see awesome animals. Antlers are awesome. You get to see country. There's things that you could take in consideration that might help with road access and getting to know the animal and what they're doing. That benefits your hunting, gets you in shape, exercise. And I look at the trail cameras as the same way. Personally, I've never got an image of an animal and be like, boom, that's my buck. I know where I'm going to go. I'm going to watch him all the time. It doesn't work that way. I mean, literally every deer that I feel like I've got his pattern on, days, a couple days before the hunt, you can know where everybody's seen. Occasionally I'll see him a little bit here and there, but it's I mean, yes, you can probably pattern them with them. I personally like them because I had one of the cellular ones that I could be like, okay, I can know specifically when an animal is coming for water or something like that. But I've never harvested anything off of it. So that's why I have mixed feelings. I more just miss the excitement of checking your camera and like, sweet, look at that giant. Or that dude just walked out across my camera. He's ass naked. So I got some weird things on my
Oh, I
camera.
love finding trail cameras and posing for them.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, but I hear you. But at the same time, like I'm just one of those people that's just like hard fast, even though, like I said, I haven't participated in trail cameras myself personally, but I'm like, I don't want you taking things away from me. I don't want you to take away
Yeah.
options. And so for me, it's more like a data point. Obviously, so I think one of the arguments was like, well, you get a cell camera and, even if you have a cell camera and you get the picture, you're still, like you said, 15, 20 minutes away. That deer could be 2 miles away at that point.
Yeah.
So to me, it's just like, it's just another data point. And I don't
Yeah.
know, I'm sure there's people abusing it and that's why this happened. But, anyway, long story short, we don't get that privilege this year in Utah. So,
Yeah.
if you haven't heard it elsewhere, you're hearing it now, go check that
Yeah.
out. and email the DWR your feelings. So, okay.
Let them know you're feeling. Actually, you
Yep.
want to go to the rack board. That is where you want to express it. It
We're
ain't
at.
going to change the rack board. You go to find your local rack board meeting and get your name in there. It's not going to change this year. Trust me. There's lots
Nope.
of things that have just happened, they don't. I've never seen them just all of a sudden. Oh crap! Pump the brakes. We need to change our mind. We just realized we pissed off a lot of people. They like to give it a year before they change things. So
Cool. Okay.
for sure. Go to your next rack board meetings. You'll have your local ones definitely held in the fall, and that's typically November. So, and don't be an asshole. Put in your request that you and be professional. That's the craziest things I've seen people say on these rack board meetings. I'm like, dude, you're making this situation
You're making
worse.
it worse. Yeah. Go in educated and voice your opinion in an educated manner so that they can understand, rather than everyone shuts down when you start yelling at them or saying insults and things like that. So cool. Well, with hunting in general, you've had some cool hunts this year. Tell me let's go with your top, we'll say 3, because you had multiple hunts.
Top 3 hunts, top 3 successful hunts, top 3 any hunts, or
your top
hunts?
3. So, I mean, success is different for everyone. Like you were saying, your son's success could have been your favorite hunt, whatever, but your top 3 hunts from this year.
Top 3. Okay. I would say number 3 would be Oklahoma. Went out to Oklahoma. I'll tell you, I don't, I grew up, like I said, I grew up in the Western states. So whitetail is kind of foreign to me. I did shoot a real nice one in Texas, but it was a little different. It was kind of, watching the hot doe, waiting for the doe to feed, and then the buck came out. We kind of guessed that was going to happen, but Oklahoma during the rut, a lot of bucks were cruising. It was during the peak of the rut, so we're getting some of the bucks that were already, left over from finding does or trying to find another doe. A lot of sitting, waiting. Just the excitement of these animals. Down in Oklahoma, you just got nothing but like sand and goat heads, and so you don't even hear them come. You just are sitting there in the freaking cold, which I never thought Oklahoma would be cold, but it was. And you look over for a second, and you look down at your phone for a second, and you look at this pretty sunset for a second, and then that's a matter of 3 seconds, and you have a buck right in front of you, like 15 yards away. You're like, where did you come from?
That's
so
awesome.
that's was exciting. I was able to harvest a buck, and we went with some other disabled hunters that part of our organization, and they were able to get their buck, and some with their first whitetail. So that was kind of exciting. That was number 3. Number 2 would be an elk hunt that I helped guide and mentor with another young boy. He's the age of 14, and he is an above knee amputee. He lost his leg when he was 3 years old. It was a freak accident with a lawnmower as a little boy, and just an outstanding kid that loves the outdoors. Above knee amputation is way harder than below knee, and some experts will say that it is harder to be missing a limb above your knee than missing 2 limbs below your knee, like myself. And he got around with these trekking poles, just awesome. He's never shot an elk before, and he was able to kill his first bull. And the mom and the grandpa was there, and a lot of other people there that were to help. I mean, there was just a fountain of tears when he had killed this bull. It was great little 6-point. He was just ecstatic. Probably took 1,000 pictures. It was like more pictures than prom night. And it was an awesome experience because that kid was grinning from ear to ear. And even to this day, I get messages from his mom about how excited he was and how he talks about it and so forth. That was number 2. Number 1, is what we talked about before, was my son. And, just the fact that he was so interested in hunting, and you always worry about that with your kids. He loves to play Fortnite. The older he's gotten, the less motivated he is about getting up early and going fishing. So I was a little worried with hunting because, when we go fishing, or we go pheasant hunting with my dog, the instant gratification is pretty quick. And with big game, you can go all day and not see something, or you get close and you get busted, and you spend so much time in your energy that you just, you're unsuccessful. And that's hard for kids to understand. But he was a hard fighter. Like, he wanted to go. Obviously he wanted to skip school. Mom wasn't okay with that. So we missed a few classes, but just the reward of him separating from me. I thought the hunt was over, but he goes out there, he ranges it. We had a max of 200 yards. That was the furthest we were allowing him to get to. And he shot a buck at 164. And the way he tells the story, it's the coolest thing. We gutted the deer, got it back to the truck, took it home, and in that short window, I picked up his phone for some reason. I can't remember. I think he left it in my truck, and he had already changed the background and the lock screen of his deer that he just shot like 30 minutes ago on his phone. That's how excited he was.
That's awesome. So, that is so cool. And that I'm excited for those opportunities to take my kids out and get them into hunting. They've been out to look for turkeys with me, and anytime we see deer up on the mountain, like, I'll hand them my binoculars, and so I know they're interested. We'll see how interested they are when I'm getting them up at the break of dawn, or before that, to get them up on the mountain. Nice. So cool deal, man. That's exciting for you. I'm stoked for you and your son. Just to wrap up here, I just wanted to ask you, and I'm doing list of 3 here because I know we could go on forever, but your top 3 activities to get your family, spouse and kids outside and enjoy it, not just like dragging them around.
Well, a lot of it's got to start with the electronics. I work for a cell phone company, and so my kids do have phones, not all of them, but it's a hard one, because it's in a age where that is so dependent on, especially like junior high. My son's in junior high. I did a public speaking event for junior high, and I was just shocked how many of these kids have Snapchat and TikToks and their own phones, and I mean, I was like, holy cow, I never had that till college, and these kids have access to that. So it's really hard to break that. Our favorite activity is something. I mean, it's camping. Kids love to make s'mores. Make it simple. It's just one night. Parents don't always love it because they do all the work, but I mean, just getting out there on a good day with great weather, camping is just, it's a memory that the kids will remember more than they would the hours they spend playing video games or just hanging out the house, or even a book that they read. The outdoors and camping is huge. Just exploring with them, teaching them things, because they'll ask questions once they don't have, the activity of the phone right there with them. They're like, they'll be forced to now, I need to learn this. That's my favorite, is camping with the kids. We've done the trailers, we've done the tents, and I'd say that, just keeping it simple with the tent is just as impactful for the kids. So that would be up there as the beginning. Fishing is always an easy one, because it's something quick. Especially here in Utah, we have so many great lakes to do that with. I would say the last one, and it's hard because I have a 4-year-old, and I'll argue with her, and be like, hey, come, let's go hiking, and she'll complain. She's like, oh, I don't want to hike anymore, and I make fun of her. It's like, you have legs, young lady. I don't, and I'm walking. So you get your butt up here. But hiking is a big one. We did that a lot during the COVID lockdown. We did a lot of hiking and activities. And so I personally think anything you can do really is the right answer to get them outdoors. And like I said, it's a recipe for, or it's a medicine for so many problems in this world, is to get into the outdoors and celebrate and protect the things that we have, and to teach them. Because for me, if I don't get out into the outdoors, my wife can sense it, and she'll sometimes will say something like, "So, are you going? You're going fishing this weekend, right?" And I'm like, "I wasn't planning on." She's like, "I think you need to go fishing." I'm like, "Well, what is that supposed to mean?"
We need to find a
Am
term
I?
for that. It's like hangry, but with the
Yeah.
outdoors, like you're starved for the outdoors. We need to find a term for that.
So like, are you having your boyfriend coming over, or am I just being an asshole, or both? What's going on?
That's so cool. And I just want to tap on that real quick. The whole idea of keeping it simple, that again, just like today, I was going for my outdoor workout, jog, walk, run. And I always invite my kids. My daughter got a bigger bike for Christmas. And so,
Oh, big bike.
yeah, right. With training wheels. And
Nice.
so, she, I invited her and then I walked outside. I'm like, oh, it's raining. And like for me, I'm like, yeah, whatever, you're used to that with 75 hard. You get snowed on, rained on, windy, whatever. But I was like, are you sure you want to come out here? And I didn't even think about it that I was putting limitations on her. And she's 5. She just barely turned 5. And she looks at me, she's like, I'm not letting anything stop me, Dad. And I was like, all right,
Nice.
that's my girl.
Good. Good.
So, keeping it simple, just as riding, encouraging riding bikes, going for walks, scooters, going to the park, hiking. Hiking is so simple. We have so many trails around here that you can just drive 10 minutes and you're at like 3 or 4 different trailheads.
Yep.
And it's awesome. And then the simple camping, keeping it, you don't have to have a trailer. You don't have to have all that crazy stuff. Just
Yeah.
put the phones in the truck or the car, wherever you're at, and enjoy the stars.
Yeah. We
It's
hit we hit Jimmy John's on the way out, so that way I don't
there
have
you
to
go.
cook. We
There you
just
go. That's even
we
better.
keep it simple. We keep it
I,
simple.
yeah, I make my kids make their own what is it, the hobo dinners is what we call them, but the tinfoil dinners.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
prep
they
those the
love
day
that.
before. Oh yeah.
We love that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Campfires are something, amazing about campfires too. I mean,
Have you
they
noticed that your son, you have one son, right?
uh-huh.
So is he more attracted to fire than your girls?
Yeah.
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 I say my
He likes to experiment with gasoline. He
oh
likes to
no.
experiment with batteries, propane. Yeah,
None
he's
of
a
the
little,
dangerous things, right?
you know. Dad, how long do you think it will take before this green propane bottle goes off? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, well, it's been in there for an hour already. I'm like, what?
Jeez. That's awesome. Well, cool, man. Well, again, it's been a privilege and an honor to have you on. I know your message will resonate with a lot of people, and I love what you're doing with DO Utah or Do Utah, Disabled Outdoorsmen, and everything that you do on your page as well. So, just to kind of wrap it up here, if people want to find you, message you, where's the best place they can find you at?
You could Instagram. Usually, I stay pretty active on try no feet, TRI underscore no feet. Um,
Not try no
the
legs, guys. It's try underscore no feet. Okay.
and then uh, like Facebook. I mean, I don't do Facebook as much as I used to, but I'm, Sydney Smith on Facebook. If you guys have, need me to do any motivational speaking or, tell my story, I've been starting to get into that more. I did put it on pause last year with COVID, just because a lot of the restrictions made it hard. I love Zoom, but it's just not the same effect of being in person. So, but yeah, I appreciate what you're doing. Obviously, I think people that do podcasts, for the goodness of wanting to get a great message and a great conversation out there, those are my favorite podcasts to be on. And I could sense that you have that drive on purpose of providing that for people. So thanks, John. I appreciate it. I'm totally gonna try to catch up on the rest of your podcast. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks again, Sid, for being on. And you guys heard where you can find them. And And you can always, look me up on Instagram as well, red.beard.outdoors, and join my RedBeard's Fit crew on Facebook. That's really the only reason why I have a Facebook. So, yeah, so look me up there. And as I always say, guys, get out, live your life, and love it.
Love it. Love it.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed making that podcast and having that conversation with my buddy Sid. He is just an inspiration, to be honest with you. He's someone that, I mean, I haven't run triathlons, and he definitely has less motivation to do that and still has gone and done that and is aiming for more. And not only that, but he blesses other people's lives. And that just incorporates, again, that family, fitness, and the outdoors all into one. He just encompasses that and lives that life. It's amazing. So go check him out. Again, he's on Instagram. I'll leave the links below to be able to go find him. If you or a family member is interested in either volunteering or wanting to participate in the activities that DO Utah or Disabled Outdoorsman Utah puts on, I'll leave the link below as well to be able to get a hold of Sid so that you can get to those events. Also, down below, I've got my companies that I work with, one of them being mainly Alpen Fuel. So at alpenfuel.com, you can use the code RedBeard, and that'll save you some money on some of the best, actually the best, granola that I've ever had for backcountry nutrition. My favorite is the caramel apple. Then on top of that, they have the strawberry and chocolate, which is fantastic. And they just came out with a new flavor called white chocolate cranberry, which those two combined are some of my favorite as far as a granola flavor. So go check them out if you're looking for, or even if you want to order some other backcountry nutrition, you can go through alpenfuel.com and get a discount with RedBeard. I've also got some other companies that I work with. I'll leave those links below if you want to go check them out. Any supplements that I use, if you're looking for a good protein shake or you're looking for a good protein bar that can get you through the day instead of going and snacking on that Snickers, I'd love to help you out with that. So go down below. Find me on Instagram at red.beard.outdoors, on Facebook as well. And if you're interested in getting into the RedBeard's Fit crew, I'd love to help you with your goals, your nutrition goals this year in 2022. So that being said, hope you guys have an amazing day. And as I said earlier, and I'll continue to always say, get out, live your life, and love it.